My name is Izzy Walsh. I'm an associate at Dawson Cornwell, which is a leading family law firm. I advise on all aspects of family law, including in particular financial matters, such as the breakdown of relationships, including divorce, civil partnerships and cohabitation. I also advise on pre- and post-nuptial agreements, and the cases that I deal with often involve international aspects and complex financial structures. Prenuptial agreements in England and Wales aren't legally binding, but since 2010, the courts have given them weight. Essentially, the courts want to uphold the parties' autonomy in making their own arrangements should a relationship break down. However, in order to have the greatest chance of being upheld by the courts, a prenuptial agreement needs to meet a number of criteria. So to start with, both parties are required to have independent legal advice on the terms of the agreement before entering into it. They're also required to provide sufficient disclosure of their financial circumstances at the time of the agreement, and it goes without saying that they should be entering into the agreement of their own free will. The agreement must meet each of the parties' financial needs, and there's a requirement that it should be fair, although it's worth noting that fair doesn't necessarily mean equal. Additionally, consideration will be given to each of the parties' circumstances at the time of the agreement. That's to say their age, their maturity, and their emotional circumstances. Finally, it must be clear that each party understood the terms of the agreement and entered into it on the basis that it was intended to be binding. Every prenuptial agreement is individual and can be tailored to meet the specific circumstances of the parties. However, a prenuptial agreement is likely to cover the division of assets which have been built up during the course of the marriage, as well as reference to those assets which are to be considered separate. It may also make income provision where relevant, and it can also make provision for children of the family, children from previous relationships, or as yet unborn children. Given the consequences of entering into a prenuptial agreement and the fact that the court retains significant discretion in whether or not an agreement is upheld, it's incredibly important to get advice prior to entering into an agreement, and it's also important to consider whether or not a prenuptial agreement will be relevant to you prior to you getting married or entering into civil partnership. With that in mind, you should always get advice, so come and see us and you can book in a consultation or speak to one of us by looking at our website at www.dawsoncornwell.com.